Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grind Podcast. This is the Saturday edition of Week 5. This is your host, Travis Big Chops Gonzalez, bringing you just a quick rundown of the slate that we have for Sunday morning, afternoon, and evening. Um, so let's just get right into it. We're going to start off with our just the slate of games and some quick notes on each of the kind of potential juicy matchups that could be happening on each of these games. We're going to start off with Minnesota and Cleveland, and I'm looking at Judkins. I think he has a real good matchup against Minnesota run defense this week. So for your Judkins managers out there, I mean, you're probably starting them anyways, but you should be looking forward to this matchup. Minnesota run defense allowed ninth most rushing yards per game, 13th highest explosive run rate, and 7th most yards before contact per attempt. So good luck there, boys. Up next, we're looking at Miami and Carolina. We got Chuba Hubbard sideline, and Rico Daddle is stepping up. He's got a good matchup, but it's this one's a little bit more difficult to kind of predict. He's got a good matchup, but his stats aren't the greatest. He's got only 11% missed tackle rate, 0 explosive runs, 1.54 yards after carry per attempt. Yeah, the Carolina run defense has not been the best, so should be interesting matchup to watch there. On the Miami side, we're looking at Waddle. This guy's got, despite being behind Tyreek Hill, he's now stepping up to the wide receiver 1 position. He's got the 8th most red zone targets amongst all wide receivers, so that's going to be interesting there, with Carolina allowing 5th fewest points, PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. We're also looking at McMillan. Miami, their defense giving up 9th most PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. So a couple juicy matchups right there. One of the biggest question marks, I think, is the tight end Waller on Miami. He's expressed a desire for more snap share from interviews. So it should be interesting to see if Miami grants him that wish. Also with Carolina having the 9th most fantasy points per game, and 2nd most receiving yards to tight ends. So this should be a good matchup for Waller. Look for him to have possibly another breakout day. Keep that production consistent. Moving up to the next game, we're looking at Houston and Baltimore. I think this is a time for Woody Marks to shine. Baltimore's defense has been lackluster this year compared to last year. They're allowing 6th most rush yards per game, 5th highest yards after contact per attempt, and 2nd highest yards per carry. So with the increased workload that Woody Marks has been receiving, I think this is going to be a great game for him. And up next we have Las Vegas and Indianapolis. Not too much here. Just wanted to make a note. I know some people picked up Trey Tucker, but we'll keep an eye on him. But just in my opinion, I think last week's performance was just an outlier. So I personally wouldn't expect much from him going forward. But prove me wrong, folks. Prove me wrong. All right, and then we're moving on to Denver and Philadelphia. So we've got the J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey split. So this is kind of a question mark there, but they're also against a weak Philadelphia run defense. Definitely going to expect some split work, but I think if you had to favor one or the other, the slight favor goes to R.J. Harvey. Philadelphia defense, 10th most receiving yards to running backs and 4th highest yards per reception to backs. So with R.J. Harvey getting slightly more receiving opportunities, I think this is going to be his time to shine over J.K. Dobbins. Also looking at Devontae Smith. It's going to be a difficult game for him. Denver allows the seventh fewest PPR points per target to slot wide receiver, but it's not going to be as difficult as A.J. Brown's job. We're expecting Surtain to keep him on lockdown. So far this year, Surtain's gone up against Calvin Ridley, Quentin Johnston, Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman. Only one of those guys has had more than 30 receiving yards, and he has not allowed a touchdown so far. So, yeah, sorry, guys. Good luck to A.J. Brown owners this week. Moving on to New Orleans and New York Giants. Slayton should lead the way for the Giants' passing attack this week. It's against a secondary that has allowed the second most PPR points per target and seventh most receiving yards per game to perimeter wide receivers. So that if you're wondering, Slayton versus Robinson, I think Slayton's gonna have the advantage in this matchup. With the neighbors going down. This week's not a good look to flex Robinson. Saints have been a tough against slot receivers, allowing the sixth fewest PPR points per target and the fewest fantasy points per game to the slot receivers. So yeah, if you picked up Wan'Dale Robinson, I unfortunately don't think this is the week that he's going to produce. I think it's going to be more Slayton at this point. Moving on to the next game, we got Dallas and New York Jets. If you are in need of a tight end and he's still on the waiver wire, Mason Taylor is a good choice for you. In the last couple games, Dallas has allowed Dallas Goedert to steer all 7 of his targets against them for 44 receiving yards. And against Tucker Kraft, he snagged all 5 of his targets for 56 receiving yards. So I expect Taylor should post a solid stat line for the week. Moving on to Tennessee and Arizona. We have Tony Pollard. He's a very talented back. Even with Spears back, should be a good start for him. The Cardinals' run defense has some holes. They've given up the 7th highest explosive run rate and 11th highest missed tackle rate. And with Pollard being as he has the ability, just hasn't maybe had the opportunity. He definitely is explosive. He can make people miss, so I think this is going to be the chance for him to really shine. We're also looking at, on the Arizona side, Carter versus DeMarcado. Against a Tennessee run defense, they're not quite the top defense. Not very good, really. And Carter is expected to be kind of the early down guy. So if they're giving up a lot of runs, early downs, and they're getting Arizona's getting first downs, I don't know if there's going to be much opportunity for DeMarcado. He's more of a 2-minute and passing down sort of back. So I think the advantage goes to Carter in this situation. Tennessee has allowed 5th most rushing yards per game, 4th highest explosive run rate, and 13th highest yards after contact per attempt. And moving on to Tampa Bay versus Seattle. We're looking at Sean Tucker, whether he's going to have any sort of effect on this game if you manage to pick him up, but yeah, I don't think that's going to happen against Rachaad White. He could steal a few touches, but I don't think his workload is going to be, high enough to warrant him being a flex play at all this week. But at the same time, Rachaad White also has a pretty bad matchup incoming, so I think either of these guys are not really too playable at this point. Seattle has been pretty good at stopping the run. They've given up 6th fewest rushing yards per game, 2nd lowest explosive run rate, and allowing the 3rd fewest yards after contact per attempt. So both these guys have their work cut out for them. Expect Rachaad White to take more the runs, but I just don't think either of them are going to be that productive. So I wouldn't recommend either of these guys to be your flex this week. All right, moving on to Detroit and Cincinnati. We want to look at Montgomery. I mean, Gibbs is Gibbs. He's going to get his. But I believe this is also an opportunity for Montgomery to post another strong stat line. Against a Cincinnati run defense, they've allowed 7th most rushing yards per game, 12th most yards after contact per attempt, and they rank 16th in missed tackles per attempt. Next, we have Washington and the Chargers. We're looking at Rodriguez and Bill. Rodriguez has had more red zone carries recently, 4 to Bill's 2. So I think with the split situation that they have, Rodriguez is going to be very touchdown dependent. So not too high of a ceiling, but he's more of a ceiling back. And then looking at Bill, I think he's going to be kind of a run-of-the-mill flex. He does have a good matchup. Chargers run defense hasn't been as good as the other aspects. They got the 13th lowest stuff rate, 10th highest explosive run rate, and 2nd highest missed tackle rate. So if Bill can get loose, I think he's going to make a decent amount of production. Not significant, but I think more consistent than Rodriguez. All right. And to finish it up, we are looking at New England and Buffalo. We're looking at the potential of Khalil Shakir versus Keon Coleman. Coleman's only had one red zone target since week 2. He does lead the team in first read share, so he has kind of come out in that way. But he's a tough player to trust. He's got a nice matchup, a viable flex. Patriots have allowed the 7th most PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers. As far as like the shadow situation, Christian Gonzalez didn't shadow last week, Ted McMillan, so we're not really expecting him to shadow Coleman in week 5. If he covers Khalil Shakir, he may have a more difficult situation, but Shakir has the stats to kind of back it up. Looking at him as a solid flex play against a Patriots secondary, they've allowed 10th most PPR points per target to slot receivers. And yeah, that concludes just the analysis of the games that we have for Sunday. Just to finish this out on a real quick session on a Saturday night, I'll let you get back to the partying. It's not quite 11 o'clock, and we all know everything fun happens on double digits. Travis's teasers we're looking at. I've got 3 picks for you. I did pretty good last week. Let me bring this up real quick. I went 3 for 3. I had New York Jets plus 8.5, Denver minus 1.5, and Chicago plus 8.5. These are all 6-point teasers. 3 combinations of 2. It put me on the season up 8.6 units with a 55.48% ROI. So I'm real happy about that. Hopefully we can keep this train rolling. We're going to start off with Carolina plus 1.5 tees to plus 7.5. We're following the money on this one. Carolina has 54% of the tickets, but 68% of the money. So a majority of the money coming on Carolina's spread, as well as some sharp movement too. Next, we have New York Jets plus 1.5. Also following the money. That's going to be 40. They have 47% of the tickets with 62% of the money. So we are following that. As I always say, you got to follow the money. We're getting that value of crossing the key totals or the key margins of 3 and 7, the two most common win totals by NFL teams. So we're making up the 20 points of juice with the chance of crossing over those two numbers. So New York Jets plus 1.5, tees 2 plus 7.5. Finally, we have the New York Giants plus 1.5, and this follows a favorite system of mine, road dog low total after bad season. The system, it looks to take advantage of the perception that teams may not be very good based on last season's results. New York Giants did not have a winning season last year. Looking for low totals, anything under 50. That implies that's going to be a lower scoring game, so higher potential for a closer score. Road dog, they are on the road, they are the underdog. And yeah, all those factors combined makes it so people tend to overvalue all the exact opposite reasons. So we're putting our money on New York Giants plus 1.5, tees 2 plus 7.5. So that's Carolina plus 7.5, New York Jets plus 7.5, and New York Giants plus 7.5. All right. That's our Saturday edition. Remember, everybody, we have an early game coming up at 6:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. Remember to set your lineups, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, folks.